Hey, this is Mike Sasson. If you've been searching for something to do with your pathetic life, guess what? This ain't it. But it'll kill about an hour. It's the Mike Sasson Show, starting 10 a.m. on July 19th, going to 11. It's going to be a lot of fun here on the River's Edge, a new kind of radio.
Welcome back to the River's Edge Radio Network. Joining me now, I have a man who is self-funding his own tour across the East Coast. We have Clay McLeod. He just had a good performance at Geppetto's Cafe. If you saw my tweet, I tweeted out a crepe there. I was impressed. I went back. So here's the man. Yeah, here's the man who's going to put a hole in my wallet right there. Clay McLeod, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Brian?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I was there. Well, I was there and I had the coffee, and I went back Saturday morning. I believe it was Saturday. Yeah, and I went there to try and meet up with the owner because we're looking to move the show on location. And
Sure.
I was too busy to talk to her, but I got a crepe, and I had a mouthgasm, and I had to post a picture of the crepe on Twitter, which is something I never do.
They're
People
seriously
who know me,
good.
Yeah, I never post pictures of food on Facebook, which is something I don't believe in. So this was a rarity.
It really says something.
Yeah, it really says something if I'm going to post a picture of it on Facebook and Twitter. So
For sure.
very good. So tell me about your tour. Where are you going and why?
Well, I've really, this has been a dream of mine for a really long time, you know, and I've wanted to release an album for several years now, and you know, the time and the money finally came. It all fell into place, and we were able to put out a 10-track album. I worked with Jay Vega at the Wilderness Studios up in Zillionople.
Okay.
He was great to work with. I really enjoyed it. And we put out a 10-track a couple of weeks ago that really didn't take too much time to make. I really had a great time making the album. But it was very stripped down compared to my first record with my band. And I really wanted to go for this feel of, you know, capturing the sound of me just playing in your living room, or, you know, playing outdoors at your party or something like that, which is a lot of the performing that I do off stage is maybe just at somebody's house and I happen to have a guitar, or, you know, at some party and people happen to want to hear me play. And I think we captured it very well, and it came across well. But I wanted to tour. I want to share this with the world and get it out to as many people as possible. So I set out booking my own tour, promoting, doing basically most of the legwork by myself. I had a lot of help from everybody in Pittsburgh around me, and from my label, First Flight Records. But most of this is self-funded. I'll be going down through, I'm hitting Johnson City, Tennessee on Friday, and that's going to be my first date out of town. And then I'll be going to, I'm playing a show in South Myrtle Beach, and then Atlanta, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, and then Orlando, Miami, Key West, and then I'll be heading back up through North Carolina and playing a show at Virginia Beach towards the end of August.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Now, you self-funded it, and you've mentioned... well, first off, you don't have to give me exact numbers, but what kind of expense does it cost to go on a tour like this? Now, are you going to be staying at, like... obviously, you're going to have to rent hotels and things like that, right? Or how does that all work out?
Well, I've got my car. I'm driving around in a 1995 Volvo station wagon with 312,000 miles on it.
So that's a true story.
That is a true story.
Okay.
That's a gamble in itself. And most of the investments that I've made into this tour have actually been into that car. I've already spent in the last 2 weeks more than I paid for the car originally, just to get it up to shape, putting new tires on it and doing work on the suspension. But that's one of my biggest expenses, is making sure the car is running. And, that's something that I enjoy, is fixing things up, but it's, I've spent more on the car than I did making the record. So
it's an expensive tour.
Right. It's an expensive tour. But the plan is to hopefully be able to stay in as little hotels as possible.
Okay.
I have everything I need with me to camp just about anywhere I need to.
Okay, cool.
If I
Yeah.
really need to, I can sleep in the car, which is something I'm perfectly willing to do. I've done it before. It's part of the living on the road. But I have a really great network of family and friends throughout the country that are going to be able to help me out a lot.
Yeah, that's a unique situation because I know, like myself, almost my entire family lives here.
Sure.
And it's to try to go somewhere else. I mean, I've friends in Nevada and one in family in Florida, maybe one in South Carolina. So it's like,
Right.
maybe I could have one stop, in between. And
Right. Well, I was lucky enough. My family vacation, and part of the reason that I was able to plan this whole thing is that my family vacation falls in mid-July. So it's actually next week, where I'll be in North Myrtle Beach for a week, and that's a week where I don't have to pay for food. I don't have to pay for somewhere to stay, and I could kind of relax a little bit before really getting into being almost completely on my own. But I've got a great support system. I have to huge thanks to everybody out there that's giving me help right now.
yeah, definitely. And I just think that's a crazy adventure to go on. It's people talk about traveling cross country, but it's almost different in this situation because you're by yourself and it's really, as much as it's a fun trip, it is a working trip as well because
It is.
the point is to try to expose your music and your brand to other people.
Right.
So that'll be you're ending your midpoint's going to be in Florida.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
I'll be all the way down in Key West for a while. I will be staying in Tallahassee or just south of Tallahassee for about a week as well because I have family that lives down there.
Okay.
But I'll be spending a good amount of time in Florida. Yeah.
How long did you have to save up
Save up.
to make this work?
Really, it was really so last minute. I really only had a chance to save up for a couple of months.
Okay.
So I'm kind of just, this is what I have. This is what I want.
Mhm.
And we're going to make it work. Whatever happens. If I end up stranded in Alabama for months on end, then that's where I am. So
I was going to ask you, what would you do in a situation like that where the car breaks down? But it sounds like you've got family in so many places that somebody isn't too far to get to you. Is that accurate?
I mean, I do have family all over the country, which is, that's a huge blessing. But I almost enjoy starting over at this point and just like being in that environment where you have no choice but to just work so hard at rebuilding, and that it really propels me forward a lot. So given the circumstances where if my car were to break down somewhere or if something were to happen to my gear or something like that, I'll find a job.
So we may never see you in southwestern Pennsylvania again.
That's a possibility. I very much doubt that. But
Yeah.
Because Pittsburgh, I love this city. This will always be home for me.
Did you grow up here?
I did. I went to high school in Harrisburg, but I was born in Pittsburgh, and I've spent the last, I think, 3 years living here in my adult life, and I really just had a blast. I love this city so much.
Now, you are a regular at the different open mic nights
Yeah.
in the Pittsburgh area. Talk about that scene and what it's like to be part of that community, because I'm newer to that community, but it's a pretty embracing community.
Absolutely.
And it's almost, to me, it almost feels like I'm back in college again, because you go to these things, whether you're going to, Ham Bones on Tuesday, the Acoustic Cafe on Monday, you go to the different shows,
Right.
and the same musicians go out to support the musicians who are at these open mic nights. So you're seeing the same people all the time. And I'm seeing you and Jeremy Kaywood more than I'm seeing, my own parents and other people. And it's almost, to me, it's almost like you're in college again, because you're seeing these people out, and it's like you're seeing them every day or all the
Right.
time. And it's weird in a way, but it's cool. It's a nice culture to be involved in.
It really is, and everybody's so supportive. That's really what got me started as a singer-songwriter. I was just starting to write my own stuff when I came to Pittsburgh, and I stumbled upon Cannon Coffee's open mic in Brookline. Now they're no longer open. That was that was I think a 4 or 5 year operation that they did, where every Wednesday night they would have an open mic from, I believe, 6 to 10 p.m. And that was family for me. I went there like church.
Yeah.
And after Cannon Coffee got shut down, or well, it didn't get shut down. The business was sold.
Mm-hmm.
We all just kind of, there was an attempt to restart the open mic at the Brookline pub, and I've been trying to get out there as much as possible. A lot of old friends over there. But I really found a new home at Hambones and at what is now Acoustic Cafe at Smalls.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And everybody that goes there weekly, it's become a family, and everybody's so supportive of each other and just so welcoming immediately. You can go in there not knowing anyone and get on stage, and then, you get off stage and you've got 10 friends.
It's cool, and I can attest to that, because just yesterday I had to skip because I went to a meeting. I had it was the only chance I was going to have to sleep. I got 2 hours of sleep, but it was do I sleep or do I go? And it was really a discussion that I had in my head. I decided to sleep, and then I felt guilty about not going when I woke up.
Man, I wish I would have pulled that all-nighter again.
Yeah, right. Well, I did it just like the other day, so
sure.
it was just
right. That's
only
a
so
lot,
many you
man.
could pull in a row.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about your music. When did you make that decision to perform on stage?
Oh man. I think my first ever performance was I was probably 7, 8 years old at a family's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I sang Sunday Morning by Maroon 5, just out of the blue, got up on stage and wanted to do this. And I've always been hooked on that feeling of, getting up on stage and performing and connecting with people. When you, now even as I'm getting into people around Pittsburgh starting to know my original music, and people singing along while I'm up on stage, and it's so exhilarating. There's never anything like it. It's a completely natural high that it fuels you.
That's gotta be exciting to be able to just know that people know who you are. I know, I get that every once in a while. People know that, I have this war that I'm waging against the Cyclists of Pittsburgh.
Right.
And, when people come up and they know it's coming, they're listening to the show and they're like, oh, this is about cyclists. They know. You can tell that they're a regular of the program. And
being a cyclist, I'll have to
okay,
get up to date on.
Yeah. So basically, the Bicyclists of Pittsburgh are my sworn enemy.
Okay.
And it's because of the absolute lack of respect for the law, the fact that they spit in the face of Lady Justice, and they really, there's this culture that exists where many, I would say the vast majority of cyclists in this city feel they are above the law. And if you ask them about it, not only do they argue that they shouldn't have to obey the law, but they actually try to convince you that they're doing you a favor by blatantly disregarding the law.
Well, I won't argue that, but I definitely agree that as a cyclist, I definitely could have more regard for traffic law. I definitely tend to make some reckless moves on my bicycle, and as someone who both drives and rides, it can be frustrating when other people do those things.
Yes. Well, I was
so I understand both sides,
Well, I was a delivery driver for 2 years in the city, so I have maybe a unique perspective because I dealt with them on a daily basis.
Right.
And I just remember there was this one day, this is a true story, it
Sure.
was, I can't remember what time of year it was. It may have been during the Strip District Music Festival, but it was
Okay.
nice out, I believe, for some reason. But I'm out there. Maybe it wasn't, because it was pretty nice out, I remember, but I think it was. So I'm out there, I'm walking, and I'm in the Strip District. There's the big bike lane that they put in.
Yeah.
And somebody's riding on the road. And I'm like, I stop, I scream at them, I shake my fist and said, use the goddamn bike lane I paid for, you jackass! And I'm just like, if I'm going to invest money into bike lanes, use the bike lanes.
So you're the reason I should be wearing a helmet.
Yes. And I tell you what, one of these days some cyclist is going to split lanes and I'm going to accidentally open my door and take someone's ass out. And as soon as they
Well,
say
I hope
something, I'm
it's
going to
not
be
me.
like, well, you use split lanes?
No.
Okay, then
no.
it won't be you. So you don't have to worry about that. To me, that's the most egregious offense. Whenever you're,
Okay.
you got two people parked and like the cyclist is coming through the cars, and then a lot of times they put their hand on the car to
Oh,
balance
yeah.
themselves as they're going
That's-
through. And I'm like, who in the hell touches someone else's car?
Right. That's not a good idea for
No.
sure.
And it's just like, I'm surprised somebody hasn't like gotten attacked because, you touch someone's car, and that's a serious issue.
Bikers of Pittsburgh, cyclists of Pittsburgh. These are real things. Watch out for these.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't split lanes. It's really not a good idea.
no, it's a terrible idea. And that's just like, that's my biggest grievance is just, just follow the law like everyone else.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I definitely run a red light here and there and, speed in 15-mile-an-hour zones and stuff. But
And I have a gripe with the city too, because I'm not opposed to bike lanes. In fact, I maybe I was at the beginning, but I've warmed up to the idea. And I think bike lanes could be very necessary, and I think that they could be very productive to help everybody, help both the cyclists and the vehicles if they're strategically placed.
Yeah, and
But
I
whenever
think
you're
when
going to shut down a major road downtown and turn it into a one-way street in an area that really isn't that high traffic to begin with, just to show off the people coming to the convention center, I have an issue with that. Whereas you have Oakland, where you've got tons of cyclists, you've got I believe it's Fifth Avenue with like a gazillion lanes that you could easily take a lane out without hindering traffic at all. And somebody recently just died there, and there's no bike lane, and there's no plans to even put one in because it's not flashy and it's not, ripe for a news camera.
Sure. And I think it would definitely benefit the city to have a bike lane on Fifth Avenue in Oakland. I think that when used properly, bike lanes are a great thing, and they're they're creating more possibilities and more incentives for cyclists to use the road safely, and for everybody to be safer in their general commute. It makes it safer for pedestrians who can now use the sidewalk without having BMX bikers ride past them and knock them over and stuff like that. And it creates a lot of a much more safe space for cyclists, who now don't have to use the road among traffic. And I think that when used properly and when
put in
properly
the right spot,
acknowledged,
and
that is
finished.
a great thing.
I mean, you look at the one on Penn Avenue, and it drops you off in the middle of traffic. And I've ridden that bike lane on my bike. I'm one of the, I will ride occasionally, but I'm one of the cyclists who is I'm the exception that proves the rule, I guess.
You have all the mirrors and everything, and all the reflectors, and
I have the reflectors, and I've got the flashlight. And I do stop at every red light and stop sign. But
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What does your bike look like? What kind of bike do you ride?
I have like an old school like street bike. Like it's back from, I don't know. I don't even know if I was born or I was like a baby at the time. It was one of my uncles I got, but
cool.
Yeah, so it's an old bike. I'm always interested in what kind of bikes people ride. Yeah,
I think that says a lot about a person.
Yeah, I need to get it all fixed up. I like the old school bike.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember like when I was a kid, there was a cartoon I liked, and the one guy he had a bike, and it was the old school bike, and I was like, oh, I'd like to have a bike like that. And then I wasn't really actively looking for one, but my grandfather was like, hey, we're getting rid of this bike. Do you want it?
There
and
you
I
go.
went over and looked, and it was exactly the type I was looking for.
The
and
best
like,
bike that you have is the one that you have.
Yeah. Well, I was riding through the north side by PNC Park, and this guy's like, hey, that bike looks really cool right there. He's like, is that yours? And he was riding a bike himself, and I said, no, that's not mine. It was like this bike with like cool orange tires and everything else. I said, this
had orange tires?
Yeah, and I'm like, this piece of shit here is mine. And he goes, oh, no, that's the last good bike that Hefty ever made.
Oh,
and
really?
I have like
that's cool.
And he knows his stuff because he actually works for Bicycle Heaven.
Yeah.
Which is are you familiar with that? The Bicycle Museum.
It's amazing.
For those of you who are listening, you can check out the Culture Cruise. We actually went to Bicycle Heaven. You can learn all about it there. But yeah, it's a nice museum.
Yeah, I think that's really funny. My bike has orange tires.
Oh, does it? Really? Maybe it was you.
Where was it? In Southside or?
No, by PNC Park.
PNC Park. Oh, it might not have been me, but my bike has bright orange tires.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So, okay, so we talked about how you got into music. We way sidetracked on that bike thing,
sorry about
that.
No,
but I think that makes sense. You know, it's an important topic.
For sure.
It's a topic that's germane to this city, and it's a topic that I will not let die. So,
well, I'm glad we talked about it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's just I gotta keep the fight up, fight for justice and fight for freedom.
For sure, I can understand that.
So, and I am Pittsburgh's moral compass, so it is my responsibility to keep this this city on the straight and narrow
Where on earth would we be without Brian?
in a much worse position than we are now, I would say. So,
So,
talk about your music and talk about I don't know, talk about your style, I guess. I don't want to say like your genre, but like what's your like style? What's your
well, it's
if you had to describe it to
sure.
someone else?
um,
You're selling yourself.
Right.
You're people listen across the country to this radio station, so they may be on your tour, so you're
Awesome.
selling it to them.
Great. Well, if you're listening, I'm a one man soul band, and I use with my live show a lot of the time I use a looping setup, so I'm able to record my voice or my guitar and play that back and keep it'll just keep playing back on its own over and over again. And while that's going on, I can continue to add to that with different instruments. So I'll add maybe a vocal part in and then harmonize with that vocal part and then throw some percussion on it. I have a few hand drums that I take with me on tour, some shakers and various Latin percussion instruments. And a lot of my music turns out when I play it live, it turns out to have a lot of Latin influence and African influence in the percussive tone to it. And sometimes it even turns into, the genre of my shows varies so much between, song to song and set to set, night to night. I did a show in Harrisburg 2 weeks ago that probably could have been described as acoustic dance music.
Huh.
It
That's cool.
really goes all over the place. But vocally, I'm very influenced by people like John Legend and Stevie Wonder and Otis Redding. And percussion-wise, it's always been like classic rock, John Bonham, or listening to.
Do you do a lot of percussion?
I do.
Because I mostly see you at Acoustic Cafe where you're doing a lot of guitar stuff. I do see you doing
Yes.
percussion behind other people at different times.
Right, and well, up until now, or up until recently at least, I've been known mostly in Pittsburgh as a guitar player and as a singer-songwriter. And the fact is that I started out on percussion.
Okay.
The drum set was my first instrument. I've been playing drums for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm self-taught on guitar. So a lot of my percussion experience and the way that my body moves because of that has translated into my guitar style and made that very percussive as well.
Okay.
So when people tell me that my guitar style is very percussive, that's the reason why, is because I'm primarily a drummer. And the rest is just self-taught from what I basically just feel.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you do have the album that came out,
Yeah.
and that is available at, I know, First Flight Records website.
Yes, it's available on firstflightrecords.com and also ClayMcLeod.bandcamp.com.
Why don't you spell your name for people, because it's not CLOUD.
No, it's not typical. It's a Scottish name. My last name is spelled McLeod. So if you're a drunk Scottish guy, it's McLeod, and that's sort of what makes it make sense.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
But
Very cool.
a lot of the time I get McLeod, or people writing my name McLeod when I just tell it to them. So I do try to make sure that's clarified.
You've played your last performance in Pittsburgh until you leave, correct?
Yes.
So people have to wait for you to come back to see you live.
Yeah. Well, I might jump on it at Hambones tonight, but by the time this airs, that will have been gone.
Already gone.
So yes. Yeah. I've played my last performance in Pittsburgh until September at least.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, we look forward to having you back, and I look forward to checking out the album. So you can check that out at firstflightrecords.com. And also ClayMcLeod.com, spelled.
It's ClayMcLeod.bandcamp.com.
.bandcamp.com.
That's CLAYMCLEOD.
Yes. So we'll post those here at the River's Edge Facebook page, so you can check it out there as well.
Awesome.
So, awesome. Thank you, Clay.
Thank you so
And,
much, Brian.
Yep. Looking forward to are you gonna Facebook your tour, like things that go on?
Oh
or-
yeah, it'll be blogged on Facebook as well as my Instagram, my Twitter, and potentially on the First Flight Records homepage. So all of my social media can be found by searching Clay McLeod Music. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm even on Snapchat. You can follow me on Snapchat and get all the little behind the scenes madness. So yeah, keep up with me.
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to we'll be back here in just a few minutes. We're going to play a song from Clay, and then we will be back here. You're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network. I'm Brian Crawford.